Based on all the things what we have learned in this exercise, what we are going to do is we are going to learn how to manage the sensitive information type by doing tasks like creating custom sensitive information, creating keyword dictionary, and work with the custom sensitive information type. So let's go and learn how to do that. So let's first and foremost go to your Purview portal. So we are in the Purview portal. So first what we are going to do is we are going to create custom sensitive information type. So for that, let's go to either information protection, or you can go to the solution going forward and you can go directly to information protection from there. So click on information protection. On the left hand side, inside the information protection, you can find reports related to information protection, recommendations, sensitivity labels, things like that. We will come to that later. For this time, we are going to go inside the classifiers, expand the classifiers, and click on sensitive information types. So think of a scenario within your organization. Like imagine if you had previously had issues with employees accidentally sending out customer personal information when working on support tickets in the ticketing solution. So to educate users in the future, a custom sensitive information type is required to identify employee IDs in emails and documents. And these employee ID could be having numbers and characters as well. So based on that, let's go and see what we can do with the custom sensitive information type. So what we're gonna, you can here first and foremost, you can see the by default Microsoft provide a lot of these sensitive information like routing number, full name details, medical terms and conditions, which you can use to actually categorize and scan and figure things out. For this exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new sensitive information type. So click on create a sensitive information type, and we have to provide the name and the description. So give a name. I'm going to provide name as Conteso employees IDs, and why we are creating is for the to understand or figure out the pattern of Conteso employee IDs, and click next. So we don't have any pattern yet, so we have to create a pattern. So click on create a pattern. So here by default there is a level of confidence. So let's leave the high confidence at the moment. So let's click on primary element. So this primary element is, this is where the main information what you want to detect is to be provided. So let's click on add primary element. Within that there are four options. There is regular expression, keyword list, keyword dictionary, and functions. So let's select regular expression, and on the ID field give a name Conteso IDs, and the expression I'm gonna provide as A to Z, a number and a number and number. This is potentially a how your employee ID in your organization looks like. If it is slightly different or some other scenario, you can change it for your requirement, and make sure that the string match is selected and click on done. If it is a word, you will select word match and click on done. And we still in the new pattern layout. Now that we have added the primary element, now let's go and click on add supporting elements or group to the element. So click on that. You get a set of option. We are not going to go through all of these options. For this exercise, I'm going to limit with selecting the keyword list, but you can see that the breadth or the depth of customization option available for you when you try to configure this. So let's set the keyword list, and in the ID I'm going to provide as employee ID keywords, and in the case insensitive I'm going to provide employee and IDs, and make sure you provide that in separate line and scroll down. This time we are going to select the word match, not the string, and click on done. Alright, so once you're happy with this, click on create. So the pattern is created. Now let's click on next. This allows you to choose a recommended confidential level or confidence level to show in compliance policies page. So we're going to use the default one, which is the high confidence level. Click next and click on create. Once this sensitive information type is created, click on done. So now you have learned how to successfully create a new sensitive information type to identify employee IDs. And in the pattern of three uppercase characters, that's what we defined. And we have defined 6 numbers and the keywords called employee or IDs within the range of some characters. Now in the task 2, let's go and create the keyword dictionary. So for that, let's go and click on create sensitive information type. Give a name. So I'm going to call it as Contasso diseases list. And this is going to be a list of possible diseases of employees in the organization. So that is what we are going to create a sensitive information type. Click next. We're going to add a new pattern. Click on create a new pattern with high confidence. Here, let's scroll down. Click on add primary element and click on keyword dictionary. I'm going to give the name as diseases dictionary and I'm going to type in all the diseases which potentially could have in the organization. So make sure you put that in line by line. Click on done and click on add supporting elements to the group of elements. Select the keyword list and give the name as the ID employee absence, and under case insensitive provide details like employee absence and reason, and click on done and click on create. Next, leave the default high confidence level. Next, click on create. So in this task, you have successfully learned how to create a new sensitive information type based on a keyword dictionary and added more keywords to decrease the false positive rate. Next, let's go and learn about how to work with custom sensitive information type. So these custom sensitive information types should always be tested before using them in policies. So otherwise, data loss or leakage may occur due to the malfunctioning of custom search patterns. So let's first go to our local device and type notepad. Open the notepad. Open the notepad. So I'm going to add details like employee Johnny Sherman, employee ID. This is absent because of flu influenza. And I'm going to save it as a file. I'm going to give it as sick test data. Save it under documents, or let's save it under downloads. Save. Now let's go back to the Purview portal and let's go to the search box and type in Contoso. We are trying to find the Contoso employee IDs. Oh, let's search inside the sensitive type. So here, this is where sensitive information type is where we created. So let's search Contoso. You can see that there are 2 things we created: Contoso employee IDs and diseases list. Let's open the Contoso employee IDs. There is an option called test, copy, or modify, things like that. So let's click on test. You have an ability to actually upload a file here. So click on upload a file. Go to the place where you actually saved it. I saved it under sick test data in the downloads folder, and I'm going to just upload and click on test. So now it is doing the test based on the policy what we created. All right, so based on this, it is telling unique matches. It matched the employee IDs as employee based on the condition we have given. Unique matches again, employee with high. So employee ID is been categorized and identified. So now let's go and let's click on finish. So this is working. So it can, if you run it, whenever you find information like that, it can pick up the employee ID. Now if I go back to Contoso, go one step back, or sensitive information type, and click on Contoso again. And this time let's test the diseases list, and inside that sensitive type, click on test. Again, I'm going to upload the file we created, sick data, which has some keyword in it, and let's click on test. Let's see if the match result is going to happen based on the sensitive information type we provided. All right, so it found out the keyword matches like flu, influenza, and based on the information we provided. All right, so let's click on finish. So you have learned how to successfully test the 2 custom sensitive information type and validated that the search pattern recognizes the desired patterns. All right, so now let's go to the next lab. The next exercise we are going to learn is how to manage sensitivity labels. So within that, we are going to learn how to create sensitivity label, and we are going to learn how to publish sensitivity labels. All right, so now we are in the admin portal. I still logged in as Johnny Sherman because she is the compliance manager and the system administrator for this company. And in this task, Johnny Sherman is going to show you how you are going to create sensitivity label. So the task is your HR department has asked a sensitivity label to apply to HR employee documents. So you will create the sensitivity label for internal documents and sub-level for HR department. So to do that, what you do first on the left-hand navigation pane under information protection, you click on sensitivity labels. By default, you can see that there are predefined templates available, some sensitive labels you can immediately start using, but let's park it there. Let's go and learn how to create a label. So click on create a label. Give a name. I'm going to give it as internal, display name, again internal, label priority. I'm going to keep it as highest because the HR team have asked for it. They didn't say any specific label priority. Description for the users. Description for users. Internal sensitivity label for users internally. And as an admin, if I need to identify what this is, I mention it as like internal sensitivity label for Contoso. If you want to provide a label, a color, you can do that. So I'm going to keep pink, click next. So this is where you can define the scope for your label. Things like items, files, emails, or if there are any other options in the page, you can select or you can deselect as well. So we're going to retain the default one like files, emails, and meetings. There is a message saying that file scope is expanded to include non-Microsoft platforms like Fabric and Azure as well. That is good news. So we can come back and test that later. Let's close that window. We are not going to make additional changes. Let's click on next. On the choose protection settings, we have, do you want to control who can access this label, or do you want to view content marking, or do you want to protect Teams meetings and chat, things like that. So what we are going to do is based on our HR team's requirement, we are going to apply content marking and click on next. And for the content marking, enable this content marking, and we are going to add watermark. And by default, there is no watermark available. So click on customize text and provide how you want your watermark content to be shown. So I'm going to provide it as internal HR data, font size. I'm going to increase the size to 30. The color, you can pick whatever color. I'm going to pick red. And how do you want it to be presented? It's diagonal or horizontal. I'm going to retain as diagonal. Click on save. If you want to add a header, you can do that. I'm not going to add a header. I'm just going to retain the footer. So click on customize text. Oh, you know what? I'm going to ignore it. Just watermark is enough because we don't want to add more things. So if you do want to add a header and footer, you can do that as well. So click next if you're happy with it. So on the auto labeling, I'm going to leave it as disable because we will come back to the auto labeling later. So click next. And these are the additional things you can do. Do you want to have additional protection settings for privacy for external users, Teams discoverability, and things like that? We are not going to make any changes there. Click next and click on create label. So now this is going to create your first custom sensitive label in your organization. The next is quite important. So once this is created, you either have to choose, do you want to publish this label to users apps immediately, or do you want to choose like, hey, don't create the policy yet, we can publish or auto apply this label later. So for this exercise, I'm going to choose the don't create this policy yet, even though we created the sensitivity label, and I'm going to click on done. Now you can see that along with the default one, you can see that that's all created by Microsoft. There is one internal sensitivity label created by Johnny Sherman. So you can click on this ellipsis, vertical ellipsis, and when you do that, you have a lot of options either to move the priority of this label. Now it is quite low. You can move up, publish this label, create as an auto labeling policy, assign priority, things like that. We're going to create a sub level. So click on create sub level, or I can't create a sub level if it is attached to meetings and things like that. So I didn't know that fact. So let's go and edit it, edit this label. Next. So I'm going to remove the meetings part. So click next, 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 save label, and label is updated. Click on done. Now let's see if we can create a sub level. Click on the vertical ellipsis, click on create sub level. All right, so now let's go and give a name for the sub level. I'm going to call it as employee data HR. Give a display name. I'm going to retain as employee data HR. Description for the users and the description for the admins are quite important. For the description for the users, this HR label is default label for all specified documents in the HR department. And for me, or for an admin, if I ever come back and look into this, I'm gonna understand that, hey, this label is created in consultation with the Johns from the HR department. And if there is anything you want to know about this, please contact her before making any changes to the settings to the label. That is quite descriptive. I'm sure like all the administrators in every organization is following this method of providing this much detail into these policies and settings. So if you want to further make changes, you can contact who is the stakeholder who is responsible for requesting this information. So click next. Here we are going to only retain files and emails. I don't want meetings at the moment. And click next. On the choose protection, we are not going to make any further modification. Click next. We are not applying any auto labeling. Click next. On choose protection settings, I'm actually going to select control access so that we can enable encryption for the documentation, things like that. Click next. So here we have additional controls, like because we selected that option, the control settings, the settings like assign permission now or let users decide. I'm going to select assign permission now. User access to content expires. You have further options here. Never. You can define things like when it is going to expire. You can put a specific date, things like that. That is quite cool. Do you want to allow offline access? If you don't want, that is quite cool too, because every time it checks for the new policy update, I'm going to select allow offline access only for a number of days, and I'm going to provide like 15 days you have offline access. After that, every time somebody opens that document, it is going to forcefully check for new policy update and whether they have permissions, things like that. Under select the assign permission, click on assign permission. Here you have ability to add permission to add all users or add any authenticated users, add users and group, things like that. We are going to select add authenticated users. Click on save and click next. And next is access control for the auto labeling. We are not going to do any changes here. Click next, and let's click on create label. Again, we are not going to publish this label for the users. Let's click on don't create the policy yet and click on done. All right, so now we have learned how to create a sensitive label for your organizational internal policies, and you learned how to create a sub-level for a human resource department. Now you can actually expand this to create different level of internal sensitive label for other departments or other customization, things like that. So don't just limit your learning here. Now let's learn how you can publish the sensitivity labels. So in this exercise, you're going to publish the internal and HR sensitivity labels so that the published sensitive labels will be available for HR users to apply in their HR documents. So here on the top of the page, you can see there is publish labels option. So click on that. That will allow you to choose sensitivity labels to publish. So click on choose sensitivity labels to publish. And here we are going to choose the labels we created. So I'm going to select internal and the internal employee data for HR and click on add. So both of that is added. Click next. Here we are not going to add any additional admin units. Click next. Publish to users and groups page. Click next. On the policy settings, we have multiple policies. I'm going to select users must provide justification to remove a label or lower its classification. So select that first option. That is, if somebody is actually moving or changing the sensitivity label, then they have to give a justification why they are doing so. Click next. Do you want to automatically apply the label? So I'm not gonna do that now. Next, I'm not making any changes, but if you want to actually take some time reading through all of these policies, different options available, just do that. For the interest of the topic, I'm just gonna go to the relevant part. But for customization, you should be actually taking time, pausing, and learning these in detail. So I'm going to name the policy. I'm going to name it as internal HR employee data. And the description as this HR label is to be applied to internal HR employee data. Click next and submit. So your new policy is created. Hey, congratulations. So now you have learned how to successfully publish the internal and HR sensitivity labels. Please note that this process, the label can take up to 24 hours for changes to replicate to all users and services within your organization. Okay. So when you apply, don't expect that to work immediately.